Hi, Taurus. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for August of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mikos in San Francisco, California.
Well, Taurus, in this month's horoscope, the focus is on your personal impact and creativity, as well as family life. You might have a variety of questions right now, and they can all be answered in a natal and transit reading. Or if you want support in your parenting, you might want a star child reading. You'll find links for these in the text that comes with this video. I want to begin by mentioning something that's ongoing since last month, which is Juno Retrograde. And we've been talking about this relationship retrospection period. It's going to go on until October. And so it has plenty of time to, for us to kind of unpack all of the impact of this one. When Juno goes retrograde, we go into this period of retrospection about our relationships, particularly. This one being in Pisces, it is a spiritual retrospection. And so we're asking ourselves, is this person I relate with on a regular basis, in business or personally, is this a real soul connection? If it is, what does that mean? If it's not, what does that mean? And so I think we're going to be going pretty deep about that. For you, this lands in your 11th house of community and friends. So you may be asking yourself these kinds of questions in that particular environment. And if you want to know more about Juno retrograde and how it works and how long it lasts and what are the milestones that happen during it this year, you should check out our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, and find the July 2022 news playlist where you can learn all about Juno retrograde. The other thing I want to share with you right now is that Uranus is going to go retrograde later on this month. And watch for the little red RX to appear. Boom, there it is. Uranus is retrograde. It's happening in your first house. And so you might be feeling, Uranus is passing through Taurus over about 7 years. And I've said it before, I'll just say it again. You might be feeling a little antsy in your pantsy during this 7-year period to make some really fundamental changes, which is kind of crazy to say to Taurus because, what sign loves change the least? Taurus is definitely it. But you may be feeling kind of rebellious and reactive and really ready for a new insight to drop on your head, especially around the day when Uranus turns retrograde, which is the 24th of this month. So open your head to new insights and watch the ripple effect throughout your life as you contemplate, some changes that could sort of shift the meaning and valuation of everything in your world. If that sounds big, it's because it is. Hey, Julia, let me throw the ball over to you. I know you've got some news about Mercury, Venus, and Mars.
Yes, I do. Well, hey there, Taurus. I'll begin with Mercury. Mercury is the planet that represents your mind. So wherever we have it, we can be very preoccupied that month. And it also represents communication too. So for the first couple of days of the month, Mercury starts in your 4th house. It really spent most of last month there. So if you want to get a more in-depth interpretation of that transit, please check out our last month's videos. But Mercury in the 4th house is a time of increased communication with your family, with the people you live with, and also thinking a lot about the past, things that happened many years ago that still might be affecting your present. Then by August 3rd or 4th, depending on where in the world you live, what time zone you're in, Mercury enters your 5th house. This is the house of children. It's definitely a super fun house. It represents games, play, and anything that you do for hobbies, diversion, and creativity. So with Mercury in the 5th house, house, your mind is on fun and games. This can also be a little bit of a prankish transit too. Maybe you kind of want to play jokes on people, kind of be a little bit of a practical joker. It can also be a time of increased communication with your children. It's a wonderful time for creative writing because this is a creative house and Mercury is the planet of writing. And, this is a very, both Mercury and the fifth house are associated with games too. So if you play any games that stimulate your mind, you could feel like a lot more into them this month, a lot more absorbed by them too. Then Venus, the planet of art, beauty, and relationships, starts the month in your third house. She'll be there for the first 11 days. The third house actually has a lot of overlays with the planet Mercury. It represents communication, it represents learning, represents your siblings and neighbors, local surroundings. So with Venus in this house for the first 11 days, it's a really wonderful time for being very diplomatic. If you have to tell somebody some harsh news, or if you've been having disagreements with people in your life lately, then this transit really helps you find the right words to sort of harmonize and smooth things over. It's also a great time for getting along well with your siblings. Cousins are also represented by this house, or you might be finding that your neighbors are more neighborly with you too. Then after August 11th, Venus goes into your fourth house of family and home. So with this transit, you could be getting along well with your parents. The fourth house represents family, also people that you live with. And Venus in the fourth house is a wonderful time for having a little luck, especially in all things housing. If you're looking to move to a new place, this might be the month where you really got some great places to visit. Venus in the fourth house, if you're in a relationship, you might want to be enjoying quiet domestic routines with your partner instead of going out and painting the town red. That'll be more next month. But this month, it's kind of a homebody transit with your partner, which is really nice. And then Mars, the planet of action and activity, starts the month in your first house. He's going to be there for 20 days. He was there for a good chunk of last month too. And Mars in the first is a super high energy time in people's lives. It's a great time for getting physical, starting a new workout routine, really just kind of using your body and your athleticism. It can also be a great time for standing up for yourself, but it's also a time where people can overdo things, making mountains out of molehills, asserting yourself. So as long as you kind of, check yourself a little bit before you wreck yourself, it's totally a good time for knowing your boundaries. Then after August 20th, Mars is going to be in your second house. This is the house of income. This is the house of your possessions. So Mars in the second house, you could feel very, very driven to make money. You could feel very driven to sort of increase your paycheck in some way. It's a good time for getting a lot of stuff done. If you have to organize your bookkeeping, your QuickBooks, really good time for that. But Mars in the second can be very, very impulsive with money too. So be very careful with your spending, because if you see something you want, you're just going to want it. So definitely make sure that you have a good return policy, because the next day you might be looking at that thing you bought and you're kind of like, oh God, and now my bank account's drained. So a little bit more impulsive with money. As long as you just are a little aware of that, then it can be a time for really kind of being driven towards money and maybe finding ways to increase it.
That's true. Well, there are 2 moons to talk about and a seasonal change. The full moon is happening in your 4th house and 10th house, and this is the axis of work-life balance. The 4th house represents your home, your nest, where hopefully you come to rest each night, so that you can rejuvenate yourself and enter back out into the outer world fray, go and participate in your career and build things in the light of day. And so it's all about finding the balance, and a full moon across this axis is going to really highlight that balance and whether that balance is being struck or not so much. Saturn has been cruising along through your 10th house for a year or so, and maybe there for another year or so. And it's been really pressuring you to discipline yourself and have a care for your reputation while it's here. And then this full moon plays into that. But there's another factor, which is that crazy Uranus hanging out in your first house, maybe pressuring you to have some some rebellious, some reactive behavior, making you kind of almost like a mischievous trickster, you might say, just feeling, entrapped. And so this Uranus might pressure you to throw a little monkey wrench into the proceedings. And I would caution you during this particular moon to not get over emotional in your reactions to authority figures in general. That includes like that police officer who stopped you on the road when you were driving a little too fast. Or it might have to do with, people at work, especially those above you. And so finding the right balance between towing the line and breaking the rules or transcending them gently, and also finding the right balance between putting attention into your work life and nurturing things there versus shining, as I said before, actually, I didn't say that yet, but I will momentarily. Shining the light of your high quality attention in the 4th house of home and family. So yeah, let me get to that. I want to talk next about the seasonal change. The month begins with the sun in Leo, which is your 4th house of home and family, as Julia's been describing, with Venus there. And wherever the sun is, we should shine the light of our high quality attention. It helps things to grow and flourish there. The 4th house being the house of home and family, when the sun is there, it's a good time to pay attention to your nest, to feather your nest, if you will, make it just the right place for you to rest and rejuvenate yourself. But around the 23rd, the sun moves out of the 4th house and into the 5th house, which is the sun's own domain, and the sun loves to be there. This is a house of fun, pleasure, and play. It is meant to be a place to express yourself, to enjoy yourself, and also it's a house of children, creativity, both process and product. I like to think of it as the house of creation, recreation, and procreation. So with the sun entering into here, and also with the moon joining that sun right here on the 27th, a lot of attention comes to this arena of fun and also an arena of parenting, because this is a house of your relationship with your creative products, including any children that you might have. Now, Julia spoke before about Mercury passing through this house and how that can help you communicate with your children, which is great. But the new moon brings a quality of planting seeds with your children, like planting the seeds of new beginnings. And so this could really help and impact relationships with your children, especially if they are older and they respond well to the presence of Mercury here. And so having fun with your kids is a good idea. One thing to watch out for with this new moon happening on the 27th is that there is a square to a very, very distractible Mars in Gemini. And so one way that you might let off steam with your kids is to, have a day in which you're doing nothing in particular. You're just all having fun together, and you can get focused on the details of that and get absorbed into some hobbies. That can be really fun when you have Virgo in this 5th house, is to like have a hobby that you really get into that involves a lot of detail. But also like letting yourself stray from the path periodically and just like, getting random here and there, especially if you're playing with your kids, because they very easily can feel oppressed by too much structure. So that's what we have for you today, Taurus. You can always find your horoscope on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the horoscope tab. And if Taurus is your sun sign, you might look up your rising sign horoscope because it's going to work a lot better. And if this is your rising sign, then look up your sun sign too, just because it's fun. And you can also check out our monthly forecast tab, where you can find out a lot more about these moons that I've been describing to you and other news of the month. And if you did want that reading with Julia or me, you can find the readings tab, where you can actually put yourself right into our schedule. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye.